Hello and welcome to another episode of Unfulfilled. Today I'm joined by Adam from ChaChing. He is the head of growth for the UK. ChaChing is challenging the biggest players within the performance and customer acquisition space by offering a new way for people to shop online. Going against the grain of big tech channels like Google and Meta, ChaChing offer a near risk-free solution for merchants to diversify their advertising channels and acquire a new loyal customer bank as well. Customers are incentivized by receiving the advertising fee that the big tech previously charged for a click or a conversion. We're going to delve into how ChaChing was set up, why it was set up, the journey so far, the goals for the business, and also we'll probably talk about Adam's background, his time at TikTok, UGC content, and a fuck ton more. And yes, we can swear. Let's get on it. Adam, for people who don't know who you are or who ChaChing are, give us an overview, man.
Yeah, hi Luke. Thanks for having me. My name's Adam. Came into kind of e-commerce really via TikTok. So I was on the first graduate scheme there back in 2021. So I joined as as an early employee there, and then stumbled into the world of e-commerce through sort of TikTok Shop, through performance advertising, and been at ChaChing now since November, and hopefully now the key sort of ambition is to go and to launch in the UK and scale from there really. But big ambitions, big goals to help really kind of disrupt the space for the better, we hope. Yeah,
well, I remember meeting Joel, who obviously is your Chief Commercial Officer, I think his title is now.
And my mentor at TikTok as well. So that's where the link came in when I got the call up in November time.
Makes sense. Yeah, I remember listening to like his pitch back in the day with the guys at D2C Live and the Game Change events that they do. But again, for people who haven't heard about it, and for people who maybe are unsure about sort of the space and how it's going to work, like give us a bit of a flavour for that, please.
Yeah, so in short, ChaChing acts as a sort of out-and-out performance channel, a shopping channel that kind of has two facets. So number one, the merchant end, we're trying to offer essentially a new go-to-market strategy for merchants where they can come on board, they can decide how much they want to pay for a conversion. So clicks, impressions are totally free. And then they'll be able to set it at a fixed CPA rate, and that can be done at a product level. So they're going, okay, we're willing to pay 20% of our average order value on a conversion, and then we'll only bill them once that conversion is made. So hopefully that alleviates some of the issues that people are getting with those flexible CPAs that suddenly fluctuate, having to spend money on clicks, impressions, things like that. And then also in the event of any returns as well, we offer 100% of the CPA charge straight back to them. So you kind of got that element, which is sort of a low risk, risk-free sort of alternative for the merchant. And then on the customer end, we then give back 90% of that conversion fee. So the vast majority of that conversion fee in real time straight back to them. So the customer will then will go through ChaChing, will then, like a search index, will scour what they want to buy. And then when they've chosen a product, let's say it's Nike, a pair of Nike shoes, they'll be then directed to the online storefront of Nike, make the purchase, the RRP, so at the real value. But instead of your big tech players getting the conversion fee, so the advertising revenue that, Alphabet and Google soaks up, that money, or 90% of that, is given straight back to them. So hopefully we've created a world where actually customers can get between 15 to almost and upwards of 40% payback instantly, and then merchants can also, come and use us as a low risk channel and diversify their advertising channels really.
Nice. And is that paid like in physical cash, or is it more like a credit against their account that can be used against other like products and stuff? How does that work from a consumer's point of view?
So we're sort of partnered with MasterCard. So the view would be that they would pay with their sort of cash, so they would use their sort of cards, and then we instantly deposit the cash straight into their ChaChing wallet, which they can then transfer out to their bank account within seconds as well. So we've created a fully sort of seamless process through our sort of banking partners, where that money can instantly be taken out within sort of 20, 30 seconds. So I guess it's an interesting play and a unique one in the sense that we sort of operate within sort of kind of payback and the programmatic space really, where unlike you could say some of our other sort of competitors where you're getting that money between sort of 7-30 days, we from the payback within ourselves through our sort of £250 million debt facility, and then we can build a brand or build a merchant after the return period is made as well, which I guess depending on what vertical it is, but if you're an apparel brand and we see I think Google 24% of all purchases are end up in sort of returns, and so there's so much wastage that you can actually alleviate some of those concerns as well.
I didn't know it was that high in terms of that return rate.
Massive. I mean, I think in the female apparel space, it's sort of almost an upwards of about 32%. So, especially when it comes to sort of high end dresses, things like that. When we all know about, Boohoo and ASOS and how many times you ended up buying products that you've just bought 8 and then returned 6. So it's a massive issue, especially in the performance space, which we've identified, which is just the amount of ad wastage there is. So hopefully by circumnavigating that, it's at least merchants are able to prepare and understand exactly what they're paying for conversion, and also, guaranteeing there's going to be no ad wastage on that front as well.
Yeah. How's this been received in the market so far? Like, I'm guessing from a merchant point of view, it's been like really well received, or tell me a bit more about the actual experience that you've sort of found so far since you've set up ChaChing.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's been good. I would say that to you, but it generally has. The sentiment has been overwhelmingly positive, and I think there's a couple of reasons for that. I think number one, I think naturally we all know what the e-commerce heads are like. Everyone's always interested in delving into a new opportunity, something that's different, something that allows their brands, their businesses to also diversify, because it's, there is a monopoly in the industry really. There is an over dependence and reliance on Meta, on Alphabet. I think it was about $700 billion last year was ended up soaked up by Alphabet, Google and Meta alone in the advertising space. So really there's only sort of 3 or 4 big dominant players where there is that reliance on the performance advertising. So for us to be able to sort of come in and try and challenge that in whatever way we can, I think there's certainly an appetite for that, which is I think incredibly exciting, and also a chance as well in a cost of living crisis and in a play where people are constantly looking for better deals. There's also an opportunity where actually people quite like the idea that rather than your big Silicon Valley players soaking in all the advertising revenue, that actually you're distributing that straight back to the customer whilst also not devaluing your product. I think it's another big win and definitely a big market sell that we're taking to. So generally it's been fantastic. I think for us, it's just about launching now and bringing our sort of pre-registered customers and building that out in the UK first. So UK will be the test market, and then all the pros and cons, Luke, will then be taken to the US shortly thereafter, really, where obviously the eyes from the business will be on the US launch, and obviously how much that can scale and grow. Yeah.
Is that a you job, Adam, or are you just going to stay UK, do you reckon? Or is this a different conversation for a different day?
No, so my sort of remit sits within the UK. So I mean, it was an interesting the rationale because it was a US based business, but the team are predominantly based out of the UK, the London office. So there's the feeling really with how the smaller market, but also a very closed e-commerce space with a lot of the agencies all being near each other, the connections that you can build. I mean, my sort of background was actually working with some agencies back at TikTok, so it seems to be an easier place to tap into and generate some momentum quickly. I think in a way that obviously the US, you can just get a bit lost in the ether.
Yes, that is very true. And then from a consumer's point of view, how does it work? So I'm guessing I'm not going directly on to, I don't know, who can we talk about? What brands can we talk about openly at this point, Adam?
Yeah, so I mean, we're lucky. We're working with just over 7,000 brands at the moment who have all launched. So we've done okay. We've done okay. Yeah. That comes from, rather than giving myself credit, that comes from really the exciting product that we have. Yeah, so not me. It comes from a really good USP, having a really good product. I mean, the app is just about live, so people can actually download it now. You've got lots of different offers, but for us, it feels like from a consumer point of view, it's a no-brainer that as long as there's brands and there's things that you want to buy, that actually you're going to move away in the long term from Google Shopping, when actually you're getting between 12 to 40. I mean, we've got brands that are 50%, that actually their ROAS targets are 2, and that's what they usually spend to acquire a sale on Meta or Google. Instead, the customer that gets the money back. So the sort of payback incentives are huge, really, and that just comes from the amount of cash that these big tech advertising guys are fleecing everyone for. You see it even with like Amazon, right? Amazon's about 20-25%. TikTok shops coming up to about 10% now. So it's the margins are diminishing, which is in a saturated market, it's becoming a problem, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So me as a consumer it's an app-based model, right? So I would download the ChaChing model, then I would shop through that as you would like through a normal, like a Boohoo or whatever site you do.
Yeah, so it's a wall garden app. You go on, it's a discovery platform through and through. So you've got your own sort of search bar, discovering what you want. So in this case, I don't know what you fancy, Luke, but it might be a pair of white sneakers. You then put in white sneakers, and then it'll be all the different SKUs, all the products that are listed from the brands that we work with. And then you can go back, you'll be able to see the feedback, and then we'll direct you to the online storefront where you can make the purchase. And then with the sort of pixel, tracking pixel, we'll then fund that payback straight into your ChaChing wallet within 10-20 seconds.
Nice. So it talks about, like, I guess, I know you've only been there since November time, but you also know about the history of the business. So talk me back to, like, I guess, like the big idea, like when did it happen? Like, why did it happen? And then like almost like fast play to where we are today.
Yeah. So, I mean, this was an idea set up by our sort of founder and CEO he's 23 years old, I believe, a guy called Max de Groot. So he's pretty bullish. He's got big plans, big aspirations for a 23-year-old. So he created this idea over the last sort of 3 years whilst he was studying. He was at Oxford, and it's been really kind of that the seed's been sown, and he's been sort of building that really in his bedroom and with his sort of family support, really. So that's kind of the genesis of it, and he identified in the market. He thought there was an opportunity really to try and provide a new advertising channel which kind of put the customer first, was his sort of idea, and he's been building that with the help of many a developer ever since, and now a team built out of sort of London, the UK, really. So that's where the sort of view is, and I think right now it's just about getting started and launching finally in the UK and building it. Yeah.
Nice, good, mate. And I think, like as I mentioned, like from everything I've heard about it, and there seems to be a lot of momentum behind it, especially over the last sort of few months as well. Like not that since you've obviously joined the business, but it sounds like there's a big like shift change, almost like this is like the way to go, and you're almost just waiting, you just bite your breath, just about to like say like it's now live, go like experience it for yourself.
Yeah, and also by the fact that merchants, they're not paying for anything until they make a conversion. So in a world where ChaChing or whatever doesn't get you a conversion, you don't pay anything. So for them, the cost is, getting set up, which takes about 2-3 minutes to do via Shopify, and jumping on a call with myself or one of our team to have to go through it. So, for them, they're as a new sort of player, I think that there is that appetite to at least want us to succeed, which is quite nice. And for them just to test that out, see how performance does over the next sort of few months. And then look, if performance is as strong as we hope it is, then I'm sure word of mouth will spread and will grow exponentially as well. So we've got that on the merchant side, and then on the consumer side, it's just going to be the classic case of leveraging social media, our influencer sort of partners, our ambassadors, and hoping to generate some traction that way as well.
Nice. And I guess you've already sort of covered a bit more around like the how ChaChing works. You mentioned like the no risk, the better margins, there's more control as well. but you've touched upon like the MasterCard partnership you guys have got. Talk about like how like that has happened as well, like the incremental sort of sales volume that you can drive to brands as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I can't talk too much about the sort of partnerships that we've got in place, but we, with the likes of MasterCard, so Raja, who's the CMO, is on our board. We're well equipped with some of those guys from the sort of, the various sort of finance banks, things like that, to help support us, which obviously is critical to really build legitimacy, which, to be honest, Luke, is going to be the absolute, that's our North Star, that's the priority, is to how to legitimise ourselves quickly in a field where so few players, A, succeed, and B, it's monopolised by two or three key, three or four players. So how do you do that? Well, that's going to have to come from some seriously good PR. Also having an app which excites and is impressive, and also working with some key collaborators, influencers, to help build that legitimacy piece. So, I don't know, Martin Lewis is on the line, but maybe he'd be a good start. People like that over the coming months. So that will be the goal. Nice.
And is that the biggest hurdle you guys have faced so far then? Is that aspect of like, why would they choose to like partner with ChaChing, or why is that?
The biggest hurdle is just the fact that you're trying to sell a big idea. You're trying to come in and take lion's share of take a good percentage of the e-commerce performance market. And you're also in a phase where you haven't launched to the sort of wider public, you haven't launched your marketing efforts, your PR efforts. I mean, those are all going to be coming in the next sort of few weeks, but we, at the moment, our critical mass is building a really, really exciting platform, an ad portal, and having all the brands that have already committed on board. So once we have all the integrations that I mentioned, we've got Shopify, but we will have EKM, Salesforce, Magento, Awin as well, all coming in. So once we have that, then all the pre-agreements that we've had with the different merchants and businesses, the multinational companies, will hopefully will come to fruition very, very quickly, and then we'll grow exponentially.
Love
so
that.
That'll be the idea. But the legitimate piece, to your point, that is the big thing. And it doesn't take an expert to work out that if you're ChaChing, if you're taking a 10% share in any sale that's made and giving 90% back, it means that in order for you to be established yourself as a big player, or B, rather than make any money, you need to generate a serious sales volume through your app to be able to hit those numbers. So that's the challenge.
Yeah, crude. And in terms of like from a merchant's point of view, have they been like almost a bit of a no-brainer getting involved in it because they're looking after their consumers, right? That's the big thing about ChaChing. You're going to take it, for a better phrase, out of the big tech companies' pockets and back into the consumers, right? That's the reason for ChaChing in general.
I think so, and I think the added incentive, that advertising fee, as you mentioned, that goes back to the customer, whilst also not devaluing. It's not a discount app. This is it's an app performance. It's a shopping channel which basically takes the money that you previously spend on other big walled garden, big tech players, and gives it back to the customer instead. So I think as an analogy, and as a sort of play, I think is one which people generally get behind and want people to want us to succeed. So it's been a good start in that sense. I think we just now having lots of positive momentum. We just now on our side get the customers on board, which we'll do through some of our partnerships I mentioned, but also through our sort of marketing efforts, which we're hoping to kickstart any day now.
And then going back to your background of in like TikTok and the UGC stuff, obviously you've been background in, is that going to be another sort of big play in terms of getting ChaChing into the hands of consumers as well?
Yeah, big time. I mean, we all know the worth and value that TikTok can have on building that awareness piece. I mean, it was when I first joined the business, it was a case that pretty much everything turned to virality at the start, and obviously now it's a far more saturated space, and every business is now trying to use that as either B2B lever or just a general awareness play. So it's tough, but we'll definitely be looking to build out some UGC bits. Good old UGC to build some lo-fi content for the world to see.
You must have a whole book worth of contacts, right, from your background?
Yeah, well,
your LinkedIn must be full of them.
Yeah, it was more full of people who were asking me to get their accounts unbanned. So I think I made my own kind of, my own business, my own consultancy fee on getting people's accounts unbanned for God knows what reason as well. And I think that was something which was quite infuriating for people when they had a successful account they built over 2 years and suddenly there was a video of a dog that the algorithm didn't like and was detected, and therefore they just got shadow banned or whatever it was. So it's a pretty brutal world out there. So I'll have to give our influencer team some hot tips on what content not to do, as opposed to what to do. People used to ask me, they're like, "Oh, how do you become viral on TikTok?" Having worked there for 3 years, and I sort of said, "Well, if I knew how to do it, I would be an influencer sitting back in Brazil or Santa Monica or whatever and enjoying my riches doing no work." But alas, that's not how life is. So I couldn't get them much on that one.
Okay, fair enough. So people have to ask you for different advice, right? Rather than how do they do that?
Well, no, obviously I could help them and guide them on best practice. But it was this kind of expectation of businesses coming to me and going, how do I achieve virality overnight? And it's like it's
not happening.
It's not. Well, you could try, but there's only so many Ryanairs that can generate that awareness piece straight away. And that was all about really the brutal answer of it was working in tandem with the organic and paid bit and doing that over 3-4 months and it was a pretty laborious task that involved pumping quite a lot of money behind it initially. So
makes sense.
Anticipate.
Yeah, we've heard it very similar. We help a lot of sort of scaling D2C brands who are using TikTok for their channels, obviously, and they're exactly saying the same sort of things, like how do we best do it, and finding people who have maybe done it multiple times rather than just got lucky once and believe they are the dog's bollocks basically. So it's trying to work out the best ones in the market, isn't it?
It's tough, and it's all about, I guess, as well, going back to that point, Luke, isn't it? It's about how to be innovative, but also stick to what works. So it's about how do you piggyback off those trends? How do you piggyback off content that's previously worked, but also just trying to find your own unique share of voice on those channels, whether that be Reels, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, things like that as well.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So flipping back into more the ChaChing model now, as we've gone a bit off tangent there into sort of more TikTok world, but you're here for ChaChing nowadays, aren't we? Talk to me. Talk about sort of the more positive sort of stuff that's come out of it sort of so far. So some stories that you can tell or things that you've sort of seen so far that's been almost like light bulb moment go off with the clients that you've sort of signed up. Talk me through a few of those sort of moments if you can.
Yeah, I think the nicest ones as well, because as part of our pitch and sell, we're saying actually to come on and roughly about your sort of 80% of the CPA that you would previously see on Google. So it's what is kind of reassuring and nice. It's the amount of people that when we speak to are going, we're really, really struggling with our performance currently. We're finding an omni-channel approach, which consists of 1, 2, 3, wall garden players. We'd love to try experiment and try something else, and that's kind of to me is what's been really nice. That the appetite, I think, bar maybe 1 or 2 clients, every call that I've been on over the last 4 months has basically ended in a client wanting to come on, onboarding, willing to have that appetite to test. So, the sale is done really think with the idea, with the methodology, with the user interface which we show them. So that's really nice, I think, is that you're not there once you're on the call thinking what's the catch. They're asking what is. They're going, where's the hidden costs? And the answer is that there isn't, that this generally is an app that we think can hopefully change the course of performance advertising for the better, really.
Yeah. I guess the real mission for the business is to cultivate that marketplace, right? In terms of where buyers and sellers come together for that mutual benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, we're not trying to prioritize the big players. We try to create an equilibrium as well. An equilibrium.
Yeah.
You've got your small, medium business owners, you've got your large multinational companies that all can see value and benefit in it. So when people are typing in, there's no like advantageous position being your Procters and Gambles in the world compared to like your small, independent shampoo maker from Hull. As long as there are discounts there and there's you can filter by biggest payback, keyword targeting as well. So these are all things that help fuel our Algolia algorithm.
Nice. And in terms of like how you found being, because obviously at TikTok you did e-com obviously in the live shopping, but how have you found like throwing yourself into like e-com? Because I know we talked about it sort of off air, but talk that again, like for the listeners, like how have you found that?
Yeah, it's been really refreshing. I was saying to you, wasn't I, just about how small the community is. I think number one about being in the UK, about everyone has the appetite to try and help you out. So when those like community events, the sort of breakfast ecom collab clubs, things like that, which are fantastic for understanding about kind of the paper cuts and the problems, the adversities, but also the success stories of all these businesses. I think it's something that's really fulfilling, and coming out of that world previously where you kind of get sheltered into your own like echo chamber of self-importance, and coming out and seeing actually all the hard work that people are doing in these very, very like tailored niches. I think it's been really eye-opening. So obviously for me as well, it's been really nice just being able to go up and down the country and just see all these different like free e-commerce events in action, and learning from the guys. Some of these veterans have been in the industry now like 20 years. Yeah. So it's been nice to take a seat and learn from those guys in their different fields.
Yeah. And if people are listening to this now, like for you, are you looking to partner alongside agencies like tech partners, that sort of stuff? Like where does that sort of side to like your role sort of sit in the ecosystem, if you will?
Yeah, so I mean, we've got the appetite to be working with both agencies and the sort of brand direct. So really our mission is to try and open the doors to speak with these guys, hear about what problems they're experiencing, whether actually there is a space for ChaChing to help facilitate that and help diversify the reliance or over-reliance on sort of tech platforms. So that's definitely something that we're interested to do. As mentioned, we're partnered with just over 7,000 brands now who have their individual SKUs, whether that be through client direct, through marketplaces, through the agencies. And then also from the agency side as well, we're also building that out as well. So that's 95, just under 100 agencies now that we have contracts with, that we're hoping to try and build out a partnership. So it's going to be a test and learn, I would say, on the agency front, finding out which verticals are working especially well. We have everything from listing from tech to apparel to homeware, garden, things like that. We'll know soon enough what works best.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess again, just because that's what I think about this. This is why I love being in e-com, I guess, apart from all the amazing stuff that goes with it, is just like the collaboration piece. Like, those guys, the e-com Colo Club have nailed that name. Because obviously I remember one of my first e-com collabs, there was two Shopify agencies sitting opposite each other. And one of them, like the other one, opened up conversation with, "Oh, well done for winning that pitch last week." And they're like, "No, we didn't win it. We thought you won it." And then they went back and forth of, "Oh no, we thought you won it because of this feedback and whatever." And they're like, "Well, no, we didn't. And this is what we got told." And like just the sharing aspect of e-commerce, like from a recruitment background, obviously, like there's no way usually you get a recruiter sitting opposite another recruiter talking about their clients and like how they've won business, like who they place and that sort of stuff. Like that wouldn't happen. So being an e-com, like that's a huge thing that I've loved, and it's something that I never got that idea of like recruiters always being so backstabby. Like for us, that would never be the case. Like I'd rather work alongside another recruitment agency who have got a different specialist area where maybe we can help them and vice versa. Because I think that just goes back to just doing things properly. And the simple thing that I always talk about is just don't be a dick. And it's just such a simple thing, right? but it's done so poorly across multiple sectors. But ecom seems to get it right the majority of the times.
I think so, and there's just a willingness, as you rightly said, for everyone to succeed. And actually, even when you're going up against each other in direct competition, there seems to be a general, it's heartwarming really, but a general yearning for people to do well, and for these, especially the sort of agencies, smaller businesses that have found their niche, for everyone to really get a slice of the pie. So I think that's, as you correctly said, that isn't something that is reflective across every industry. So I think we should be really, as a collective and a community, something that we should be really proud about.
Yeah, and even hosting the events, they've. Oh, go on.
I mean, maybe I've only been in the industry for about 2.5, 3 years. So yeah, for now it seems like a really nice space. Maybe I don't know the dark arts. Maybe that's down to that.
No, I mean, I think, as you say, I think this goes back to the aspect. And I think that's that's how I met Joel at an event, and he was talking about obviously the ChaChing model in front of like scaling brands who obviously are looking after their consumers in a better way, I guess. And it's not always focusing on the sell, is it? It's about actually like, how do we give back to our consumers, which is, as your hat rightly says, it's payback time. It's a very, well, there we go, good nod. So all are watching.
Maybe for the people who spent the last half an hour trying to decipher, she's put it on backwards.
Yeah, but it's a great place to be. And as I say, like, I think you guys are doing the right things. It sounds like and I think you're getting, as I say, like, you could have easily probably released your app, but the actual user experience wouldn't have given you the best opportunity to succeed. So that's why, like, it's taken, a tad longer, I guess, to get to that point of delivery.
The way that we see it internally is that we've got one stab at this. We've got one shot to make it work, and so we need to make sure it's pretty fucking good before we at least even give our first iteration out to the wider public. So that's where it's people wanting the best results and being a little bit of perfectionists, I guess, which is a good thing. But also, it's just also now it's a time where we want to go as well. So
yeah,
people like me, we just need to calm, settle the excitement, and listen to the roadmap.
How's that going?
Good. Just about. They're keeping me on the leash for now. But yeah, absolutely. One stab at it, one shot. So we need to make sure it's worthwhile.
Love that. Okay, mate. And in terms of like competition, like, are there many others doing this? Like, is there another competitor doing what ChaChing are trying to do?
Yeah, it's weird because we sort of sit in the sort of silos really of kind of, a Google shopping-esque programmatic play with a ton of payback, but then also having connotations with your sort of top cashback, Rakuten, people like that as well. So there's sort of almost taken the best bits out of a number of different players and then and fused that into one really. So it's a good question about who our direct competition is. Obviously, it's pretty flattering to be like, oh yeah, our competitors are Amazon and Google, knowing that we haven't launched yet. But I generally think that's the kind of ambition scale of the company, that even if you could take a small slice of that like advertising space, the rewards will be really fruitful really. So that's kind of where we're aiming and scaling to be, and we'll go with the hits from there.
Yeah. And in terms of the app, when it does go live, how many SKUs are you expecting the customer to be able to search from? Is there like a number you're trying to get to, or the amount of sort of products?
I think if we can go anywhere between sort of 10 and 12 million SKUs as a good starting block, I think that would be really nice. And then aim to try and, but then just sort of Q2, early Q3, have sort of 25, 30 million to play with. So as we talked about earlier, the app only, in my opinion, it works, and people come back time and time again as long as there's things for the customer to buy. So it's great to have a few good deals, but if we've got tens of thousands of brands all on the app, all using the app, then hopefully there'll just be such a vast plethora of spread really that people then become over-reliant on us, and actually then make a tactical choice to come onto ChaChing for their search, for their discovery, rather than some of the other players.
Yeah. And how does it work with regards to like the smaller brands against the more well-known brands? Is there a different way of the algorithms working? So I know the best example to use here might be, I know, like women's skincare, for argument's sake. Like, so that's a huge sector. So how does like a scaling brand compete against maybe the bigger ones that are going to also be on this platform? Is there a way of sort of working it so all get a fair shot at the whip almost?
Big time, and going back to your point, we're not an app that's built on like halo products for the time being. For the foreseeable future, this is an app built on an equilibrium basis where actually you're rewarded by offering the biggest payback. So the higher the payback opportunity, the greater priority you'll be on the sort of carousel. So that'd be one. You can also type in sort of keywords as well. So if you're a skincare brand that champions acne, for example, and people are using those keywords in the search index, that's also prioritized as well. So actually having that niche can actually be really effective sometimes. People trying to find certain things and within those skincare space, because yes, it's all good having that generic term placed in, but actually what exactly is it about the women's skincare brands that people are looking for? Is it anti-aging? Is it the blemishing aspect of it? All things that actually hopefully we can champion and we can offer.
Nice. And the actual algorithm, as you say, will work the same as a Google search would. So it's still based on keywords. Nothing changes in terms of the actual how to find your products. It's just the way that it's then recouped by the consumer rather than big tech.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the nice sort of USPs, I guess, of ChaChing is the nature in which you can create, you can have different CPAs or different ROAS targets at individual product level. So actually it might be that if you're a big brand, a big marketplace, you want to bring your tech SKUs on at a certain ROAS goal, you actually might have two products, which are your hero products, which might sell really well anyway, that actually you go drop your ROAS goal for. So you can kind of iterate accordingly depending on how much time you really want to spend on the app initially. So you can have your default CPA, your default ROAS goal, and then you can iterate in our app portal as well.
Nice. And obviously as the business is, like let's say, scaling pretty quickly in terms of the last, especially sort of 6 months, how has ChaChing been able to keep that same, for a better word, like culture, let's say, like from the team sort of growing? How has that been able to, have that been kept?
Yeah, well, the business has made a strategic choice, which is to employ a bunch of senior heads, people who have set up their own businesses, an amazing advisor team as well with our board, and then also employing some sort of younger, hungry guys as well. So I think fusing without having that sort of cliche, the older versus sort of young sort of dynamic has actually been really empowering for someone like myself that would lean in the younger category. See how those guys operate, how those guys function, and having that like education piece as well to be really well supported. So I think from that point, that's allowed everyone to take accountability for themselves, but also for as like an education learning experience, which is obviously something that we all want to do in business, is to learn and grow and develop as entrepreneurs, as business people. I think it's been fantastic and definitely one of the big advantages of joining a business like ChaChing.
Yeah, I think I've heard this from someone else told me a story about another brand. I can't think who it was now, top of my head, but they hired like really senior like heads of departments like early doors. So you had like the head of ops was a senior veteran, as I say, like from the sector, had been there, had done it, but that person set everything up from the start. And then in 12 months time, they hired like a more junior person who then took on some of the smaller bits. And then every 6-12 months, they then added more people to each part of the business. It sounds like a similar type of model with ChaChing. It's let's get some really, for a better phrase, shit hot people at the top of the game who can come and make a big difference, and then we'll grow the team sort of around them people and sort of grow and scale with them. Is that right?
Yeah, and I saw a really good TED talk on it by a guy called Rahul Rishma, but it's just all about how the way in which you can keep your team lean at the start, especially during hopefully your sort of hypergrowth phase, during the sort of the early days, by having that sort of amalgamation really of the senior guys and also the more junior folk who, yes, have experience in business, working in big tech companies, but also just need that guidance and about exactly how to improve efficiencies and some of that top line stuff that takes a couple of decades, or you're well tuned.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's the next, let's say, 12-month look like for ChaChing? So we're sitting here right now, we've got 7,000 brands, 10 million products at the moment. Is that right? The right numbers there?
Yeah.
10,000? Yeah. So what does it look like in a year's time? And the business is what, sort of 40 people strong across UK and US? Like, where does it look like in 12 months? Like, what is the...
I think the play will be to try and keep the team as lean as possible. So I think in terms of just hiring for the sake of hiring, I think there's going to be quite a lot of discipline when it comes to keeping only making hires where needed. I think the play in terms of the actual business is to launch in the UK, hopefully in the next few weeks, maybe sort of end of March, and then really build out and ingest our sort of audiences, our pre-registered audiences, through our partnerships with the likes of MasterCard, people like that. Mm-hmm. And then really launching in the US. So the US, then followed by Australia, and then LATAM markets as well. And then hopefully within 12 months, you've got an environment where you've got 7 million people using the app in the UK alone, and you can really, really grow and solidify yourself as a big player from there. So that's the goal. And,
love that.
In the meantime, hoping that things go your way, that the app continues to thrive, and that merchants remain interested to use ChaChing as a good additional lever for their advertising channels.
Love that, mate. Thank you so much. I'm very excited to see where you guys go and sort of the big waves you guys are going to make. Because let's be honest, it's going to happen. It's just, like they say, timing, right? It's just getting it right. I didn't say this at the top of the pod either, but this is our sort of final one of season 1. So Adam, thank you ever so much, mate, for being my final guest of season 1 before we hit up season 2. Mate, it's been incredible, and I'm like really looking forward to seeing how you guys go, and the plans that you have is massive.
No, thanks very much for having me, Luke, and absolute privilege to be the final guest on the season 1. What's in store for season 2? What's
Great
new?
question. It's almost like I prepped you for that, which I actually didn't, but it's almost like I told you. You're good at this, mate. Season 2 is going to be a bit different in terms of the format and what we sort of plan to do. So season 1 was more of a, I didn't know what to expect when we opened up the Unfulfilled podcast. As a recruiter going to the Ecom Collab Club saying, I'm a recruiter, I want to do a podcast, I expected to hear crickets. Who would want to come on this? Because I think people expected it to be me grilling them on what's your interview process? How do you onboard people? And all this sort of stuff, where as you've listened to these before, and it's not that at all. It's about actually the brand and what they've done and all their sort of challenges and the highs, the lows, the pinch me moments and all that sort of stuff. So season 1's been great in that aspect. Season 2, we're going to do some face-to-face podcasts. We've not done that before, so we'll do more face-to-face ones. Then we're probably going to mix it. So some would be same as this, conversational. And then we're also going to do maybe quick fire questions. So more like snappy sort of for content aspects. Again, going back to the look and feel of how TikTok and UGC stuff makes it work to get the best exposure for it. I think the other aspect we're going to look at doing is the guest posing a question for the next podcast guest. I think it's been done by a certain Stephen Bartlett probably throughout his time with Diary CEO. We won't steal it exactly the same, but we'll do something like that where it's that engagement piece, and that would be sort of the focus of the next pod as well. So tons of stuff, mate. But I think I just want to say again, just thank you for everyone who's been involved in season one. Like, thank you, Adam, for being the final one. And yeah, I mean, I hope what we might try to do is get you involved in season two of face to face as well. And, you know, that'll probably be towards the back end of this year. So it's a case of like, you know, where we are like 6 months down the line, and this has been recorded early March and probably be released sort of April time, I guess. So I'd imagine by April you guys would hopefully be either like ready to go at that point or already sort of out there. So I think the timing will be pretty cool for this as well. So yeah, mate, thank you to everyone for being involved, and yeah, it's been class. So I'm looking forward to stepping it up in season two.
Bigger and better, right?
Absolutely, that's the plan.
Need some explosions and a bit of budget for that. I don't know if you can get anyone to chuck in a few quid just for some big bright lights.
Do you know anybody?
I'll have to have a little think. See if there's got any explosive points coming down the road.
See if you guys have got any budget in the numbers for us.
Yeah, you can buy some fireworks on ChaChing. Maybe that could be the play, and you can get your discount.
There we go. Love that. But mate, again, thank you. Check out ChaChing, by the way, for anybody listening. Make sure you check it out. Reach out to Adam and his sort of team as well if you want to know more about how it works and how to get involved. Reach out to the guys, and they'll look after you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Luke. Been an absolute pleasure, and looking forward to what's ahead in season two.
Good lad. Thank you very much, mate. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, this is a final note from me in regards to season one of Unfulfilled. We are done for season one. It's been absolutely incredible. I just want to say thank you so much for everyone who's been on the journey with me so far, the amazing guests that we've had, the amazing comments, engagement, and yeah, it's been absolutely incredible and much more than I could have ever hoped season one would have been. However, season two is going to be bigger, better, new format, lots of new opportunities. We can do it. We do some face-to-face recordings as well. Already got some really cool guests lined up for season two. But yeah, just want to go again. Huge thank you to the whole e-commerce community. Everyone has got behind this, from Ecom Collab, from D2C Live, and the rest of the whole industry really. So yeah, thank you again. I look forward to seeing you in season two and for bigger and better things from Unfulfilled, brought to you by Fulfilled Talent.